How are you doing today? So, um, we are going to talk about some of the myths of aging. And this is information that's from the National Institute of Health. And I've added some stuff to it, but it's just some of the common myths about what happens when we get older. So, what she said, this is just kind of a recap. I did graduate from Ohio University, not Ohio State University. So, we're the green school and not the red one. So, that makes a really big difference when you're looking at the quality of the football teams, I have to tell you. When I was in college, it was all about the band because the football team never won. So, I studied gerontology, which is the study of aging, and I have spent my career caring for seniors and their families, and also the seniors in my family. And I help people try and figure out what's the next step when it's time to move into assisted living or an apartment. And we just changed our name from Best Approach Consulting to Assisted Living Navigators. And you can see our new logo down there on the bottom. So we still do the same thing, we just have a new name. Myths about aging. So many people make assumptions about aging, what it's like to get old, to grow older, and how older age will affect them. And the more research that we do, the more that we find that, unfortunately, everyone needs to eat right and exercise and do all those things that we learned about when we were in health class a long time ago. The more mobile you are, the more your lifestyle reflects healthy choices. You listen to what your doctor says. The more the aging process will be something that'll be a little smoother for us. The first myth we're going to talk about is that depression and loneliness are normal in older adults. Depression and loneliness are not normal. It is definitely, sometimes as we get older and we've lost our friends and family, there are situational things that can make us sad, but actual clinical depression is not a normal part of the aging process. What we have found is that the more friends that we have of different ages, the healthier we are when we are going through the aging process. So as we age, some of us may feel isolated and alone. Now, this has been a problem that has really been true during the pandemic. We have seen more and more isolation. People are kind of getting used to being stuck in our houses. These talks might have been done in a library before, at a nursing community where we'd have snacks and sit and talk to everyone. And we've kind of switched to this computer model. So we have that feeling of connection, but it's still just not the same as being around other people. When we're isolated, whether it's something that we choose for ourselves or something that happens as a result of illness, inability to get places, it can lead to depression, anxiety, and sadness. But this is not a normal part of getting older. Actually, older adults are less likely to experience depression than young adults. It's important to remember, though, that when you go to the doctor, if you're having feelings of sadness or depression, that you talk to your doctor about that because it's not normal. There are things that they can do to help, tips and things they can give you. And some people take temporary medication so that they can relieve signs and symptoms of depression. Usually what they say is if you're feeling sad occasionally, that's kind of normal. It's normal for everyone. If you feel so sad that you can't get out of bed, you don't want to get dressed, that can be a symptom of depression, something that you should talk to the doctor about. The next myth, doesn't she look happy? I don't think I've ever slept like that. This says, the older I get, the less sleep I need. So has anyone heard about this myth that, as you get older, you're not as physically active and you just don't need as much sleep? Well, this is a myth. Even though many of us have to get up out of bed and use the restroom 4 or 5 times in the evening, that doesn't mean that we don't need sleep. It means we're just not getting enough. Sometimes our sleep patterns are interrupted. We don't fall asleep as easily, and we don't get into that deep sleep often enough. Um, we still need the same amount of sleep at 75, 85 that we needed at 40 and 50, 7 to 9 hours each night. When you get enough sleep, it helps you feel healthy and it helps you feel strong, helps us be alert. So if you're having trouble with getting enough sleep, here's some things that we can do. Keep your bedroom at a comfortable temperature, not too hot, not too cold, as quiet as possible. I'm someone who likes to sleep with a fan or that white noise going in the background. And so if there's not a fan, no matter what the temperature is, I feel a little bit restless. I don't sleep as well. So whatever works for you. Use low lighting in the evenings and as you prepare for bed. Now you have to be careful that you don't make it too dark in your house that you can't see. But if we're in the summertime, it can be beneficial to pull your shades at 8 o'clock if your regular bedtime is 9:30 or 10, so you don't still have that bright light coming in. And again, this gets back to the exercise. Exercise at regular times each day, but not within 3 hours of your bedtime. So even though we might physically feel tired from the exercise, our body releases endorphins and chemicals that kind of get us revved up with exercise. So they recommend that you exercise in the morning, but not close to your bedtime. Another tip to try and help get some regular sleep is avoid eating large meals close to bedtime. They can keep you awake. There are some people that completely reverse the American diet. So they eat a big breakfast and then a smaller lunch and sort of a snack for supper. Most of us in Ohio and the Midwest, we were raised to eat kind of a big breakfast, big lunch, and then have that heaviest meal in the supper time. Sometimes as we age, that's not necessarily what's going to make us feel great at night when you have other things going on like heartburn or things from your food. So think about maybe having your biggest meal at the middle of the day and a smaller meal in the evening and see if that helps you sleep better. Caffeine, caffeine, caffeine. So stay away from caffeine late in the day. Many people just have a cup of coffee with their breakfast and don't drink anymore for the rest of the day because they say it keeps them awake. You just have to keep track of how it affects you. And remember, alcohol won't help you sleep. Even small amounts of alcohol can help make it harder to stay awake. So follow a regular sleep schedule. If you can, this is better for just overall health. It's better to help keep your medications on the right routine. Go to sleep and get up at the same time each day, even on weekends or when you're traveling. Try to stay within that natural routine for yourself. Avoid napping late in the afternoon or evening if you can, because it can keep you awake. Many people like to lay down for a nap after lunch. And if you find that that's good for you, then good. If you find you're having a difficult time sleeping, maybe you could take a walk after lunch instead of a nap and see if that'll give you the energy. And finally, develop a bedtime routine. So take time to relax before going to bed at night. Some people like to read a book, listen to some quieter, soothing music, or soak in a warm bathtub. Finally, try not to watch TV or use your computer for about a half an hour, 45 minutes before you go to bed. And you really shouldn't have a TV in your bedroom. The light from these devices can make it difficult for you to fall asleep. Any alarming or unsettling shows or movies, like scary movies, for me, the crime shows, the Law and Order, Criminal Minds, all of those things that are so popular on TV, they can give you nightmares and keep you awake because of the content. So You just got to keep track for yourself and see what's going to work. Another myth is that older adults can't learn new things. Have you ever heard of this one? So think about the last time you wanted to learn something new. For many of us, it's the technology that's always changing with the phones and the computers and those kind of things. Rest assured that you can still learn new things. Sometimes we have to go about it a little bit differently, and maybe we're not going to learn 5 or 6 different things at once, but we can learn new things, absolutely. We can create new memories, improve our performance in a variety of skills. So if you always wanted to play piano or learn how to dance, it's not too late. You can learn how to do new things. Seeking out new social connections with others and doing social activities like dance or book club, these help keep your brain active. They help boost your cognitive health. And they're also just fun. It's great to be around other people. And when we look at loneliness and what we can do to alleviate that, going to social groups that you've belonged to, maintaining your outings at church or YMCA, senior centers, find something that you like and feel free to do that. So we're going to talk a little bit about dementia. Many people are of the belief that it's inevitable that when we get old, we get dementia. So I guess the first question is, what is dementia? So dementia is a progressive disease of the brain that makes it difficult to remember, difficult to make decisions, difficult to do many of the things that we do every day just as people. So we kind of roll this all into, oh, I'm forgetting things, I'm losing things. If you misplace your car keys, that's not dementia. If you find it unable to complete sentences, if you tell stories over and over again, we'll talk about this a little bit more. It can be a cause for concern. The earlier you get a baseline assessment, the better. So if you're 75 or 80, it's a good time to just talk to your doctor about doing a baseline assessment, and then they'll be able to tell if you've had any changes. Dementia is not a normal part of the aging process. The risk for dementia increases as we get older, but it's not inevitable. Many people live into their 90s without significant declines in their memory and without behavior changes that characterize dementia. So again, if you occasionally forget an appointment or lose your keys, that's just mild forgetfulness. This can also be a part of just the fact that we're so busy, we're doing lots of things. Routines can help where you put things back in exactly the same place. Mild forgetfulness is common in normal aging, but dementia is not. Along the same lines, there's a myth that says if my family member has Alzheimer's disease, I'm automatically going to have it too. My grandma lived with us when I was a little girl, and excuse me, she had Alzheimer's dementia. At night, she would get up and she would pack her clothes and try and catch her train every night. And so that was dementia. She didn't really know where she was. She thought she was somewhere else, and she was navigating through that disease process. But that doesn't mean that all of her children are going to have it. So you can't control the genes that you inherited, but you can take steps to stay healthy as you age. This is what we talked about: regular exercise, controlling your diet, controlling high blood pressure, and not smoking. So just because a parent had Alzheimer's disease doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it. But it's always important to take whatever steps we can to stay healthy. So having your parent with Alzheimer's does not necessarily mean that someone will develop the disease, but it's important to learn about your family health history, talk to your doctor about your concerns, write down what you can remember from your family so that your children and their children have that pattern too. So when is it time to talk to a doctor? If you or someone you love begin asking the same questions over and over again. If you start to get lost in a place that a person knows well. So maybe you go over to your daughter's house and you've been there 100 times, but you can't remember where the bathroom is. Maybe you're having trouble following recipes or directions. So you used to be able to cook and now you're just having trouble getting everything done in all the right steps. Maybe you're becoming more confused about time, people, and places. Sometimes what we see is that in the evening, it's a little more difficult to remember people or places. Time can be kind of confusing. If you don't have a lot going on in your life and you're sleeping a lot during the day, it can be difficult. Days and nights kind of run together. And not taking care of oneself. So if you or a loved one, you're not eating right, you're not taking a bath, you're behaving unsafely, you're making choices that you wouldn't have done before. So these are things that 5 years ago you would have been able to do for yourself. You see people start to wear their clothes inside out or backwards. They don't really know how to put their shoes on anymore. So all of those things that we do tend to be a little more difficult when we have dementia. And talk to your doctor if you're having any of those signs. So here's some tips for dealing with forgetfulness, some tips, things that we can do. If you've talked to your doctor and your doctor has said it's just normal part of aging, it's not dementia, learn a new skill. So it sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but learning something new can help our brain function in different ways and help us manage forgetfulness. Sometimes it's about having tasks, making to-do lists and memory tools such as calendars and notes. There's also devices that you can wear like watches or your phone, and there's alarms that can be set that will say, hey, it's time to take your medicine, or you have an appointment today at 4. Try to have a routine. Before you have forgetfulness, try to get things established in a routine. And the more that you do the same things every day in the same way, it helps your brain function better and helps that routine be a part in addition to the memory. Stay involved in activities that help both the mind and body. And again, follow a daily routine. You could volunteer in your community, at a school or your church, spend time with family and friends, get enough sleep, 7 to 8 or 9 hours a night. So if you're rested up, then it can be easier to remember things. Exercise and eat well, prevent or control high blood pressure. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. Get help if you feel sad or depressed for weeks at a time. I don't know if you've noticed, all of these things kind of go together. So don't drink a lot of alcohol. That's going to be what your physician's going to say. As you're on more and more medications, drinking a lot of alcohol is not a great idea. It can cause forgetfulness. Get help if you feel sad for weeks at a time. Talk to someone. The next myth, older adults should take it easy and avoid exercise so they don't become injured. Even if it's just moving your arms up and down, or some people use a soup can, move it in your chair on the commercials during your TV. The more that we can move, the better equipped we are to deal with the aging process. So try to keep moving. I love this picture so much. Almost anyone at any age and with any health condition can participate in some kind of physical activity. Maybe you wouldn't start with a weight quite that big. That's where the soup cans come in. Those are great to use, or a water bottle, because it kind of looks like that. And talk to your doctor. But there are chair aerobics. There's lots of fun things that we can do. Maybe dancing, things that you used to like to do before. The more physical activity, the better it is for our blood flow, the better it is for our body. If we just sit around in our chair all day, or if we have a loved one that can't move and can't get up as they like, there's a danger of our skin breaking down from that pressure. So the more we can move around, the better. So it's kind of the opposite of when we were in school or when we went to church with our parents and they told us to sit still. Well, now they're telling us don't sit still anymore. Wiggle around a little bit. See if you can just move. The more you move, even just a little bit, the better you're going to feel. Exercise and physical activity are good for your physical and mental health, and they actually help keep you independent more as you age. So as we get older, sometimes if we're not using it, we lose it. So if we're not walking and using our muscle strength, it can be difficult for us to do simple things like just standing up from the toilet and that kind of basic activity of daily living. The more we can exercise, the more independent we're going to stay. This is a big one. Now that I'm older, I'm going to have to give up driving. So think about what it felt like when you got your driver's license. I wish we were a little more interactive, because I always love to have people tell me about what their first car was and how excited you felt. And just close your eyes for a second and think about what it felt like when you got that driver's license. Think about some of the words. If you're in a chat, you can add it in there. Most people say they felt freedom. They just were so excited not to be a kid anymore. They felt like they were an adult. They felt like they were moving. They could take care of themselves. And then after spending your whole life taking care of yourself and everyone around you, you get older and people start saying, all right, you can't drive anymore. We have to take away your keys. No one usually gives their keys up real easily, because it's such a part of who we are, especially as Americans. Most of us don't take the bus as a general rule. We're out driving in our own cars. You do not have to give up driving automatically because we get older, but some people want to. There are natural changes that can occur with age that may affect your ability to drive. Having slower response speed, diminished vision and hearing, and reduction in strength and mobility. So imagine you're driving down the road. Everyone, if you would, grab your steering wheel and you're driving down the road. Turn to your left. So you got to look to see if cars are coming. As we age, sometimes just that ability to move our head, that full range of motion, can decline. And so if you're not going to do any other exercises at home, but you're still driving, try and do those little, just turn your neck to the left, turn your neck to the right, because we want to try and be able to have a full range of vision for what's going on outside of us. There are driving courses that you can take just to kind of give you tips and tricks on how to be a safer driver. Many people say, well, I only drive within 3 or 4 miles of my house. I don't drive at night. I only go to church on Sunday. I go to the grocery store. Think about where you're driving. If you're starting to feel like it might not be a good idea anymore, have a talk with your family and see where they can step in and help. So those natural changes that come with aging do impact your ability to drive. So is it time to give up driving? We all age differently. So because of that, there's no one age that everyone needs to stop driving. How do you know if you need to stop? So think about this. What are some things that might be warning signs that you probably shouldn't be driving anymore? Do other drivers often honk at you? When you're driving down the road, are you the one that's putting the horn on the neighbors, or are they beeping at you because you're getting in the lane where you shouldn't be? Are you having accidents? Even if they're little fender benders, are you bumping into carts in the parking lot? Are there things that you're not seeing? This next one is a big one. It goes back to that forgetfulness. Are you getting lost, even on roads that you know? Do people or cars walking seem to appear out of nowhere? Have you had any near misses where you almost hit someone or another car? Do you get distracted while you're driving? Have I been pulled over by a police officer about my driving? Now, if I'm going to be honest, I have had a few of these things happen, but I'm still going to keep driving. But I think it's just awareness about what you can do to stay as safe as you possibly can. Have your family, friends, or your doctor said they're worried about your driving? Do you drive less because you're not as sure about your driving as you used to be? Do you have trouble staying in your lane? Now, this gets back to our physical abilities as we age. Do you have trouble moving your foot between the gas and the brake pedals, or do you sometimes get the two confused? Are people afraid to ride with you? Are you afraid to ride with yourself? When it gets to the point where it's more stressful to drive, then think about maybe there are things you could do instead of driving to get around. Now we have all the food delivery services, that kind of thing. There are things that can be put into place to really help you be safe at home without driving. And if you have a chance, I highly recommend the AARP driving course. It's a defensive driving course that just helps kind of give you a refresher on how to stay safe. So if you answered yes to any of those questions, next time you go to your doctor, you might want to have a talk with them or have a driving assessment done to make sure that you don't hurt yourself or someone else. And that's usually the reason why most responsible older adults decide they're going to stop driving, because they're afraid that they might hurt somebody else. They might have an accident and a child would be hurt, or someone else would be severely impacted by that decision to keep driving. So this is probably close to our last one. Only women need to worry about osteoporosis. So for years, osteoporosis has been a women's disease where as we get older, we lose bone density. And that's where we talk about, I used to be 5'6" and now I'm 94 and I am 4'11". So our bones compress and we do see a visual sign that we feel like we're not as tall as we used to be. Unfortunately, osteoporosis is more common in women, but it still affects many men and it could be very underdiagnosed. We just assume that because women lost bone density during childbirth, that the osteoporosis was primarily a woman's disease. But 1 in 5 men over the age of 50 will have a fracture related to not having enough bone density, which is what the osteoporosis is. So talk to your doctor if you're concerned. And again, this is where we talk about family history. If your mom had a problem with this, ask your doctor if you need to have some kind of supplements or if there's anything you could add to your diet to help prevent this. This is a big myth. I'm too old to quit smoking. I don't know if you've been to the doctor in the last 3 or 4 years, but that seems like the big push that they're having is, do you smoke? Do you smoke? Have you ever smoked? The reality is that smoking is really unhealthy for us and for the people around us that we love. So no matter how old you are or how long you've been smoking, your health can be improved anytime that you quit. So if you're going to go into a hospital, you're not going to be able to smoke. Most of the long-term care communities, assisted livings, you can't smoke. There's a safety risk because they're afraid people might drop a cigarette and catch a place on fire or hurt themselves. And then there's the health risk for yourself and the people around you. Smokers who quit have fewer illnesses like colds and the flu, lower rates of bronchitis and pneumonia, and overall, they just feel better after they quit. Quitting can lead to lower heart rate and blood pressure over time. Quitting smoking will also lower your risk of cancer, heart attack, stroke, and lung disease. So again, it's never too old to quit smoking. It's the same thing. If you or someone you love feels like they drink too much alcohol and it's interfering with their daily life, there are programs that can help older adults quit drinking as well, because what used to be just a normal social part of your life can easily slip into something that negatively affects your health. So these behaviors that are risky behaviors, the alcohol use and the smoking, it's not too late to quit, and your doctor is happy to help with that. Learn more about how to quit smoking. Okay, so we've come to the end of the myths that I wanted to talk to you guys about from the National Institute on Health. And as you can see, the aging process itself, they say it's not for sissies, right? Aging is not for sissies because all of our systems kind of change. What we do know is that if we can get on a routine that suits us, if we can go to bed at the same time and we can get up at the same time, take our medications when we're supposed to, exercise every day, that aging and having a lifestyle where we get to spend time with our family and the people that we love can definitely be a whole different process than if we don't exercise and we don't eat right. So there are so many myths about aging, about what it's like to grow older and how it's going to affect you. We just went over a few, and I hope that you got some information, some things that you could do easily with no cost or no concern. Get into that routine and try and move around as much as you possibly can. If you smoke, you should talk to your doctor about that. They want us to quit that. And try to preserve your health and mobility as long as you can by adopting and continuing healthy habits and lifestyle choices. Again, if you feel like you or a loved one has an issue with depression, it's a serious condition, you should talk to your doctor. If you're starting to feel like your forgetfulness is more than just an occasional thing, or if you have a loved one who's feeling more forgetful, please reach out. There are things that can be done, and there's help that's out there for you so that you can spend time with your family and the people that you love while you are here.